It's about that time for Coffee Talk on this morning right here on the Most Talked About Show and Radio. And guess what, my good friends? I want you to know that we are ready to get things started. But before we do, let's have a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day and this opportunity that you've given unto us to come through these airways. Father, we just pray to God that you continue to anoint those who will be coming over the airways, that they may be able to give us the information that you have downloaded in them. God, you allow us to be better fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers, cousins, uncles, better community, better family, better world, just for you. We give you thanks and praise for these and so many other blessings. We ask in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Good morning.
Amen. Good morning, Bishop.
Good morning.
Okay, thank you, everybody, and welcome, everybody. Every day we rise is a great day to be alive, and welcome to the Seven Cities Forums of Hampton Road presents Portsmouth Coffee Talk. My name is James Slim Overton, and I'm here with co-host Leah Drake Stitt and Thomas the Colonel Chapman. Good morning, co-host.
Good morning,
And we have a
James.
special guest, Pastor Jesse Warring. And before we get started, we're gonna, Colonel, if you want to do your thing, your disclaimer.
Yes, to keep us out of Facebook jail, the views listed on or stated on this show are of the guests and also of the host and not of the radio station. Slim?
Okay, thank you, Colonel. I appreciate that. And good morning, Leah, again. And
Good morning.
you're
Good
looking
morning.
lovely, looking lovely early this morning,
Well, thank you, James.
like you always do.
Lack of sleep on a Sunday night, however.
How about that? Well, anyway, if you will, if you'd like to introduce our special guest this morning.
I am honored to introduce our special guest on this morning, and none other than the Reverend Jesse Warring. Jesse, I have known for a while now, Reverend Warring. However, I didn't know his story. I didn't know his story until recently, when he came to my brother's church for a book signing. And at that book signing, I learned of his 27 years of addiction with heroin. I also learned that Jesse it took 15 years to write this book about his life. And the fact that he wanted to write this book so that his children and his grandchildren and his great-grandchildren can know who he is and what he has gone through and what he has overcome. And Jesse has overcome a lot. Jesse has written a book called Coming Clean, and he would tell us more about his book. The book is called Coming Clean. It is an excellent read. It is an excellent read for students in school, for guys in the penal system, for individuals who are suffering for some type of
addiction,
to let them know that there are other options out there for them. And I mean, this is such a story. I the privilege of reading the book, and I think about children that I work with in the schools, and you just don't know what children are going through and how young children have to take on the responsibilities of taking on and caring for their younger siblings. Jesse has an amazing story here. And I told him as soon as I saw him at the book signing that we wanted him on Portsmouth Coffee Talk, because there's so many people, you may not be addicted to drugs. You may be addicted to alcohol. There's so many things. You can be addicted to sex. You can be addicted to so many things, but there is a way to overcome those addictions. And Jesse will share with us on this morning how he was able to come through. And Jesse, I want to hold the book up again, because when you start, I want you to talk about the design of this book. Rem Warring.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, I want to thank God for giving me another chance to get this message out. And I want to thank you and your people at the radio station for allowing me to. And the cover of the book, I went to an art college and I talked with some students, and I gave them my idea
of what I wanted the cover to look like in my head. And I left it up to their creativity to bring that idea to life. And the first person that gave me their artwork, I knew that was it. I didn't have to look at none of the rest of them. I looked at the rest of them, but I knew that that was the one to be the cover. And the reason I knew, because I snorted heroin for those 27 years. And if you look at that cover, you'll see the word clean is coming from my nose.
Mm.
So that's the significance of that cover.
So coming clean.
Yeah.
I tell you, you have had such an amazing and interesting life. You've always been a caretaker from the book, not only of your siblings, but also for your mom. When you went to reform school, we're going to talk about all of that. You took care of those, the least of these. And so, Jesse, why don't you start sharing your story with us?
You know, looking back over my life, God, I shared earlier, God is connecting the dots of my life. As we go through life, we live our life in bits and pieces, and we don't see the whole picture. So God came into my life and started connecting the dots, letting me know things I thought was nonsense, God is making sense out of. And it seemed like I've always, all my life, I've always championed the underdog. And I think that came from because I was an underdog. But I set out, I've always had compassion for people. And believe it or not, I had my own issues. And I would call out sometime or reach out sometimes, you know, to tell people what I'm going through. But people are going through so much themselves, they ain't had time to listen to me. So a lot of time I would call my aunts or uncles or something, and they would think I'm calling to see how they doing, and I'm calling to unload some stuff that I'm going through. So they would say, you know, I'm so glad you called because I'm going through this and I'm going through that. And I found myself putting me on the back burner and just listening to them. And drugs allowed me to hide or to stay on the back burner. So I never got around to dealing with my own issues, and I didn't really have any help. Like I said, God is connecting the dots, and the scripture tells me, when your mother and father have forsaken you, God said, I'll take you up. And now I see what God took me in the midst of all this. But I was able to, and I'm just as amazed by this book in my life as anybody else is. Nobody on earth is more amazed at my life than me. As I sat back and I look back on it. And I just turned 70. And even just saying that brings about a spirit of gratitude to me. Because I remember thinking if I turn 30, I'll be blessed. And now I done turned 70.
Mm-hmm.
So you
God
can
is
imagine,
good.
you know, I reside in the state of gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
I live in a spiritual state of gratitude. Every time I turn around, there's something else for me to be grateful for. And like you said, I set out 15 years ago to write this book. And I didn't write it for fame or fortune. I didn't write it for the world. I got 20 grandchildren, 2 great-grandsons, 5 daughters, 3 son-in-laws. And one day I sat down and I prayed. I said, Lord, I want to tell my story to them because they don't know me. They know of me, but they don't know me. And I want them to know me. It's important, I think, for children to know where they came from. So I'm sitting there praying. And a lot of time when we pray, we asking God, we got a preconceived notion how God is going to answer us. And when he don't answer us the way we think he should, then we'll miss it.
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm praying, I'm asking God to help me with this book. And in my mind, I'm thinking, he's going to tell me go to this school and go to this school and take this writing class. You know, I can complicate stuff up in my head. That's why I got to stay out of my head sometimes. But God said, pick up the pen and paper and start writing. You see, God keeps it simple. We want to complicate it.
Mm-hmm.
But God keeps it real simple. So I picked up the pen and I started writing. And I have to say, God been with me every, and when I say every, I mean every step of the way.
Mhm.
Even now, he's still with me. Emmanuel, God with us.
Mhm.
And he's still taking this book. I'm writing this book. And in the midst of writing it, God says to me, the Spirit says to me, this book is, I know why you're writing this book, but it's going to help more people than just your children. I had no idea what God was talking about, but I continued to write. And then I had to go into, the book turned out to be very therapeutic because I had to go into my personal abyss, that dark place that's inside of us, where we keep all the skeletons and the boogermans and the things that went bump in the night. And I had to go into that dark place. And I've been there before, but I dip in and out. And this time I had to go in there and sit down. I had to take a seat in that dark place. And I had to identify those skeletons and boogermans. And it was hard. It was I labored for them 15 years. I put the pen down because I began to feel the pain of that place. And I put the pen down, I don't want to write no more. And God, the Spirit of God came upon me and said, you asked me to help you write. I said, yes. He said, you're writing now, and pick the pen back up. And if I showed you those original manuscripts in that area of the book, you'll see where I'm writing through tears, pouring it out. Now that dark place ain't so dark no more. I done installed lights in there.
And Jesse, as you're talking, I'm thinking about the fact that you said you cried. And upon reading the book, you learned that as a child of 8, you had to take care of your younger siblings because your mom and your stepfather were an alcoholic. Your actual
Yeah.
father left your life long ago. I mean, before your birth. Um, and it seems as though you said that you learned not to cry because you had to be an adult as a child, had to
Yeah.
take care of your siblings. You were abused by your stepfather, and you
Mhm.
carry the scars from the abuses that he instilled upon your body as a young child, and how you had to take on obligations of feeding your younger siblings and just um such a life that most people will use as an excuse as to why they are where they are, instead of you took those things and you built upon those things. Share with us like your experiences with your childhood, your mom, and then we'll get into your addiction, okay?
Okay. Well, my mother, God bless her heart. You know, my mother had 8 kids. And I used to joke with her. I said, Mom, you was like the little old lady that lived in the shoe. You had so many children, you just didn't know what to do. And that pretty much, she was an alcoholic. A lot of times as children, we have a real high expectation of our parents, sometimes too high, most times too high, that they can't be, they human beings. But I was her protector. So the man that she married, which turned out to be my stepfather, he would abuse her. And I can remember at 7, 8 years old, I would fight him. And he stood 6'2" and weighed about 230. But it didn't make no difference if you put your hands on my mama. I don't care who you are. You got to fight me, you know. And of course, I didn't win the fight, you know, but I fought. And you were talking about the tears and crying. I can remember they used to send me to the stove to light their cigarettes when they didn't have no matches. And I developed a taste for tobacco. On my way back, I would puff on the cigarette. And then my stepfather caught me puffing on the cigarette and he decided to beat me for it. And like you said, children thinking. They might not share what they're thinking, but they are thinking. And he's gonna break me out of it. So he actually hog-tied me and began to hit me. But before he hit me, I made up my mind I wasn't gonna cry anymore. I'm not gonna give you the satisfaction of seeing me cry. That was my only weapon. And he began to hit me, had an extension cord doubled up, and he began to hit me with it. And I just stood there and looked at him. And he noticed I wasn't crying. Here I am, 11 years old, 12. And he said, "Oh, you a man now, huh? You ain't gonna cry. We'll see." And then he lowered the boom. And he was hitting me so hard, he was tearing into my clothing, my shirt. And I still stood there looking at it. And I can remember biting my bottom lip so hard that I was drinking my own blood as he was beating me. And he was so determined to make me cry. And I was just as determined not to cry. And I didn't cry. And then he took me and threw me into a closet and shut the door on me. And, you know, and my mama came home and took me to the hospital, and they cleaned the wounds and stuff. And these scars I take to my grave. But I didn't cry. And that's the weapon I used against the world. Because it seemed like the world was out to make me cry. So I told the world, you know, come on with whatever you're coming with. I'm not going to cry. But like you said, for some reason, I've always, like I saw the hypocrisy in it. This guy's beating me, but he's a smoker. So I always saw the hypocrisy in the adult. They say one thing, but you're doing something all entirely different. And that's what children do. Children look at how we walk, not how we talk.
Yes.
So kids see the hypocrisy. They might not say nothing to you because they want to be mannerable, but don't think for one moment that they don't see it, because they see it. Parents tell kids don't curse, but you curse in every other word. So kids are seeing that. So if you want kids to mind you, you got to be the example. Yeah.
So Jesse, Slim, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want, as we get into the addiction part, I just wanted to say, you know, we hear a lot of stories about the addiction, the abuse of in families. And I know it doesn't happen for everyone, but do you see a connection sometime, or was it a connection with you and early abuse and later addiction?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. We're set up. We're sitting ducks from early on. It's issues. It's not so much the addiction as it is issues that we don't face. That dark place I talk about. That sets us up for the addiction. Even when we go to psychiatrists, the first thing they ask you is, how was your childhood? How was your relationship with your mother? Because they know whatever affected us as adults started way back then. So I've had sexual abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse, abandonment. These were the issues that I'm trying to get away from. Lack of love as a child. All these are issues. So when adults don't love the child, a child can only reason but so much. So if my mother and daddy don't love me, then my thinking is that I must not be worthy of love. So if I'm not worthy of love, then I have no self-love. So I don't love me. So I wanted to be anybody in the world but me. I wanted to be Dr. J. I wanted to be Billy D. Williams, anybody but Jesse. But Jesse is not lovable. That's what I'm taught as a child. The Bible says when we're children, we think like a child, we reason as a child, and we do childish stuff. So I didn't love myself. Even when I came into the ministry, I brought some of that into the ministry with me. God had to straighten me out. I still didn't want to be Jesse. I wanted to be TD Jakes, Creflo Dollar, anybody but me. And God sets me down and said, look, I got a TD Jakes already, and I got a Creflo Dollar. What I don't have is a Reverend Jesse. Can you just be Jesse? I said, yeah.
Well, Pastor, you said a mouthful in the beginning, and something that we talked about on this show about how our children are watching us and how we should be mindful of that in our actions always. And a lot of times we are not that way, and we wonder what's wrong with our children today. And then the abuse part, we look at our children and say, well, what's going on with them now acting out is deep rooted. So
Yeah.
some of those things. But I want to ask you about, I saw the part where you say you snorted heroin for 30 years or so, and snorted and shooting. Is it a difference in the addiction? Because we hear most people shooting heroin and maybe overdosing and anything. Could those same things happen to someone that's just snorting it for that time,
One
or
of the
is it
things,
one worse
first,
than the other?
first of all, I snorted because I was scared of needles.
Mhm.
Okay.
I was traumatized as a child. My mama took me to the clinic and, Mom, am I gonna get a shot today? And Mom said, no, and I was all right. So I was always afraid of needles. So when I started out snorting, that get around the needle thing. And I couldn't see myself giving myself a needle. And to address the overdosing on snorting versus shooting, when you snort, before you overdose, you regurgitate because it still haven't gone into your system quite yet. It leaks into your system. So if you got too much in your system from snorting, you'll bring it up. While if you shoot it, it's directly, they call it mainlining. So it's directly into your system. So I've seen people OD. I have brought people back from ODing and they ain't pull a needle out their arm. That's how quick it is.
Mm.
So I have friends of mine that I have brought back from ODing. They had OD. And I've been in places where people OD and they throw them out in the alley. So the police won't find their bodies in their house. And it's some world, but I have been blessed, I guess, to bring a few of my friends back from OD because I was a snorter. And people used to tell me all the time, yeah, I know you snorting now, but sooner or later you're gonna be shooting. Because they say when you snort, you're wasting the dope. Because some of it goes into your stomach. So they say you just wasting dope doing that. You might well start shooting. That's right, you'll be shooting in 6 months, And I snorted for 27 years. But some old men told me one day, they said, I thought I had everything under cover. But the old men, they saw something. And they said, be doing that, son, make sure you rinse your nose out after you snort. Make sure you eat before you snort. So that became a habit for me, rinsing my nose out and eating before I got high. I listened to the old people. And I think that helped me. I think that helped me. Because all the dope I put on my nose, I shouldn't even have a nose. The fact that I still got a nose is a miracle.
Mm-hmm. And
I hope
You know,
Colonel, you about to say something?
yeah, I was just going to make a comment to our listeners and those who are viewing out there, and just to make the comment that one, this is if they've listened to us over the long run, this is a real broad-based program that people need to hear it. And if they like to hear what they're saying, we need your help to continue what we're doing. And so if you'd like to send an honorarium or a donation check to Portsmouth Coffee Talk, P.O. Box 7664, Portsmouth, Virginia 23707. And then so I'd like to comment on your 15 journey to write your book, because I would say, and you mentioned that you're getting ready to turn 70 years young, and you also talked about your grandkids, but the 20 grandchildren. But this book is a historical record that also defines your legacy to your children that can't be, that you are talking to, your legacy. And also it gives a chance for others to look at your life, and they can compare their own station in life and where they're going and where they've been and where they're going, and so they can live through the vicariously through the written word. And so I'm glad that you're doing this and coming on the show and to talk about drug addiction. And then so it all brings to the point now is what I like to say is, our say our war on drugs and drug addiction, it's not really a problem until it's spilled over to middle class white America. Because when the drugs was down in Harlem and in on the East Side and in LA, and we were as people of color were being addicted and doped out and freebasing with and all this other stuff back in the day, it wasn't a problem until it went to the college campuses to white America. And then it became, we need to have a war on drugs. And fast forward 30 years now, it's not a problem. Drugs are not a problem, say in West Virginia, where they have more folks in the that live in white America that lives in the trailers until it spills over to the middle class there. And then all of a sudden, we've got to do a problem. We've got to have America to solve this problem. So Jesse, the drug problem in America, where would you say we should need to go?
Repeat that.
You know, what do you think, you know, as we as Fox News, what I call state-run TV, says, and we talk about our crime and drug problems in America, where do you think we should go with this? Because we can't incarcerate everybody in this country. And even then, the incarceration rates amongst Black folks and white folks are two different, because, you know, we have two justice systems. You know, one will get treated and then one goes to jail.
Yeah.
So where do you think?
Well, first of all, we got to start by identifying it by color. That's the first and foremost. When the TV first got in touch with me, they wanted to celebrate the book as part of Black History Month. So they wanted to interview me through, you know, in February. And led by the Spirit, I don't want to be bottled. I don't want this message bottled up. It's not a Black book. I didn't write this book because I'm Black. Black had nothing to do with it. I wrote this book because I'm a human being and I got issues. And I don't want to isolate any segment of our community because we all suffer with these same issues.
Right.
So I refuse to let them put it as a Black history thing, because that in itself would isolate people. And you were so right when you say how I can remember the late 60s, the early 70s when I got addicted. Drugs hit Harlem like a tsunami. It flooded Harlem. And it was always about containment. It was never about eradicating drugs. It was all about containing. And as long as, like you said, as long as it stayed in Harlem. But as a dealer, because I sold drugs too, and as a dealer, when you came to Harlem, the further you took that drug from Harlem, the more you could charge. So in Harlem, the drug cost $2 a bag. That's going back some years. But you could take that $2 bag to Connecticut, the suburbs, and sell it for $15. You could take it to New Jersey and sell it for $10, $20. You could take it across the Brooklyn Bridge and sell it for $5. That's not prevalent. But once the senators and the big shots, quote unquote, came home and found their kids ODing, then it's old. It won't supposed to come out here. So now
yeah, Jesse, before you go any further, we got to make a transition, and then Slim will talk about that right quick.
Okay, and I'd like to thank all our listeners as we transition from the radio and continue on Facebook Live, which we've been on Facebook Live. And I want to thank all the listeners on WGPL 1350 AM for listening this Monday. And please continue to listen as we continue what our mission of sharing information that is of special interest to our communities. Thank you so much. And Facebook listeners, if you're just joining us, we have a special guest with us, Pastor Jesse Warren, who is a 27-year hearing user. So as we continue, please stay tuned. Thank you.
Jesse, in Harlem, as you said, drugs were prevalent there back in the 60s, especially heroin. You started out selling with your brother-in-law and your stepfather.
Mhm.
What was the transition from selling to using?
You know, and I cannot say I went into this thing blind because I saw devastation all around me. So I can't, you know, I want to claim I was innocent, but I wasn't. I knew, you know, and I can remember I had a date and I was kind of nervous about going out on the date. And my brother-in-law, he was a user, and he convinced me to try this heroin. The day of the date, July of 71. And it was a very attractive lady. I always had an eye for the lady. And I tried it that night and it worked. I was cool, calm, collective on the date, you know. And but I said, I'm just gonna do it this weekend. You know, I'm not gonna do it no more, you know. And that was the start of it. I went later on, 27 years later, if I could fast forward, I was standing in a line about to purchase heroin. And I had about 3 or 4 people in front of me. And the young man that was selling the drug, he looked beyond those people and he said to me, "How many you want, Pop?" And I looked behind me to see who he was talking to. And he said, "I'm talking to you, Pop. How many you want?" And that young man would never know how profound that word "pop" was to me. It was almost like a slap in my face. Pop. I went on and purchased the drug and I did the drug, but that word kept echoing in my head. And it was almost like, wake up. I mean, I started out at 19 years old and now I'm a pop. How long have I been out here? The state of denial is something else.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying, how long have I been out here? But there's a saying that we relapse before we pick up the drug, because relapse is in the mind. So we actually relapse before we even pick up the drug. So if that be the case, we recover before we put the drug down. That's the opposite of that. That's one of the things I teach in my classes. And that was the beginning of my recovery. Even though I did the drug, but the seed of recovery was planted by that young man. If he'd just said, "How many you want?" But he added pop to that little 4-letter word.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, that 4-letter word, even though he may not thought it, but he is actually talking down to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then right then you said, "Hey, this guy doesn't really respect on who I am as a person. I'm just another whatever out there." And so that was your turning point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a turning point.
I can remember waking up in a cold sweat, thinking, dreaming or nightmare that I'm gonna be an old man on drugs.
Mm-hmm.
That used to scare me. That one thing used to scare me, to be an old man still chasing drugs. I used to wake up in a cold sweat thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
So it all went hand, like I said, God connects the dots. So it all goes hand in hand. When that man said, "Pop," I didn't want to be 50 and out there still on drugs.
Right.
And God delivered me at 47.
Yeah. You know,
go ahead, quick, Colonel.
Okay, yeah. Well, you know, I'm a nurse. I have been in a long time, maybe almost 50 years now, as a nurse, and 40 years. And one of the things I've worked off and on in drug rehab, and I always told the young folks who are out there in group, and it says, you know, especially those who are out there slinging it or being the drug dealers, I always tell them and saying, in all my years on being on this earth, I have never seen a retired drug dealer that the law will catch you or either the law will catch you, or some of the people that you're dealing to will catch up with you, and it's not going to end gracefully. Is that a good statement?
Yes, it is. But see, we not just hooked, we think that it's just we hooked just on the drugs. We're not just hooked on the drug, we're hooked on the lifestyle.
Yes.
Mhm.
You know, it brings in the women, the Air Jordan,
Mm-hmm.
cars, the jewelry, the drama. We get hooked on
Gas
all
money.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we get hooked on all that. So it ain't just the drug, and all the other stuff that come with it.
Mm-hmm.
I had a psychiatrist. I wasn't even on his caseload, but me and him used to talk in the hallways, and he put me on his caseload. And I remember coming, I had maybe 30 days clean, and I came in and he said, how things going, Jesse? And I said, things are going so well, I'm waiting for something to happen. And he said, that's because that's how you used to live in your life.
Mhm.
Every time things are going smooth, you waiting for something to happen
Mm-hmm.
to bring the drama. He said, if the drama don't come by itself because you're so used to it, you'll bring it
Mhm.
because that's the life you used to live in. And he ended that with, but it's possible, Jesse, to live happily ever after.
Mm.
The other shoe don't have to fall, the drama don't have to come. Make sure you don't bring it. Because drama come naturally,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
but make sure you ain't the author of the drama. And that he spoke that to me over 25 years ago. The
Mm-hmm.
Bible tells you when you hear wisdom tied around your neck, because it's going to
Mhm.
serve you well.
And
So I just
Jesse.
made I just made sure I don't bring the drama.
Mhm. And Jesse, with your 27 years of addiction, you then came to a place in time when you contemplated suicide. You found
Wow.
yourself on a urine-stained mattress, and a gentleman came to you and spoke to you in reference to your addiction. Could you share that with us?
Sure. If I start crying or get choked up, y'all bear with me. Because every
It's
time I
okay.
tell it,
You
every time
listen,
I
you
tell
you held those tears for so many years. It's okay to cry now.
I talked with this young man, and I'm gonna say he was a white man because we got this thing against white people. So I want to let you know that it was a white man I was talking to, and we had about a 15-minute conversation. And I confessed to him that I had a drug problem. And he ended the conversation. He gave me his card, and he said, if you serious about getting off of drugs, give me a call. But if you're not serious, just throw the card away. So I took the card and put it in my back pocket and went about my business. And over a year went by, and periodically I would hit a rough spot in life, and I'll take that card out, maybe even dial a couple of numbers, but hang up, put the card back in my pocket. And I kept doing that periodically, over that year period. And then I did four months in the Chesapeake jail, and when I got out, I was homeless. And this young lady, she allowed me to stay at her house. And her kid was a bedwetter, so she said, that's the only room I got. So that beat being outside in the cold, But that morning, I woke up and I'm sitting on the side, and I woke up just like I did for the last 27 years. Who am I going to cheat? Who am I going to lie to? Who am I going to deceive, manipulate? Who am I going to steal from so I can get high today? Those are my thoughts. Little did I know I won't get high no more. I didn't plan to get clean. So I'm sitting here August the 20th, 1998 on the side of this urine-stained mattress. And all of a sudden I got this tiredness came upon me. And then the thoughts of, you done tried every which way to stop, ain't no way you can stop, And then the thoughts of suicide start creeping in. Well, if you kill yourself, that'll stop you. And I need to tell you, it was a good idea. It was very, very appealing. I was just that tired. I had reached that point where I was just that tired. I didn't want, I just want, if it meant killing myself to stop, I'm willing to do that. And you know how the devil is, he just give him one thought, if you don't kill yourself for yourself, kill yourself for the people that you done hurt and disappointed, And I'm caught up in these thoughts. And I lost that card.
It's okay.
God,
It's okay. It's okay, Jesse.
Take your time.
All good.
I didn't know it, but God brought that number back to me. I lost the card. And God said, call this number. And I called that gentleman. And he was on his job. And he said, where you at? And I gave him my address. I was in the project, Washington Park. And that man came to that house. I called him about 9 o'clock that morning. And before the clock struck 12, he was at the house to get me. And he came into the urine stain mat, that urine stain room, and smelled the urine. He didn't hold his nose or nothing. He started packing my dirty clothes in a duffel bag. He threw the bag over his shoulder and threw me over the other shoulder because I couldn't walk. I was weak. He took me down, put me in the car, and we started heading to Norfolk. And this man prayed for me from Portsmouth all the way to Norfolk. Just praying for me. We got there to the detox center, and they told him, they said, we're not gonna be able to service him here because he's not a resident of Norfolk. And the only way we can service him is that he paid the fee up front. And this man took out his checkbook. He said, how much is this treatment? And they gave him a price. And he wrote a check for my 7-day treatment. And he gave it to him. And then he turned and gave me a $50 bill. Told me to get my shaving stuff and deodorants and toothpaste and all that. And I told that man, I said, I'm going to pay you back all that you did for me today. And he said, you don't owe me anything. He said, but God is going to raise you up and use you greatly. He said, when he do, you give back what was so freely on this day. And I haven't laid eyes on that man since that day. Be careful how you entertain strangers.
Amen.
You just might be entertaining angels unaware.
And Jesse,
go ahead.
and you lived up to your commitment to him that you were going to give back. And you are giving back now by assisting those who are on drugs. You're teaching classes now. Am I not correct?
Yeah. I teach 3 classes a week on recovering from drugs and alcohol.
And where is this taking place?
Where
is this taking place?
Right here in the city of Portsmouth.
Mm-hmm.
Safe Harbor rehab centers.
Mm-hmm.
We have 2, one on London Boulevard and one on Elm Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
I teach classes at both of them. But what I do, I develop a dialogue with the people so they have an opportunity to talk to me. I've introduced myself to them. I spent maybe the first 3 or 4 classes just introducing myself to them. What I've been through. They buying my book, and and I can see when I'm talking to them, I can see the light bulbs going off over their head. They're getting it, and it brings me so much joy being among them. I really feel like I'm finally doing my ministry, the ministry that God gave me. When I'm among them, this is what I'm called to do. The city of Portsmouth has given me the Give Back Award. I've been recipient twice, 10 years apart. In fact, they just gave it to me November of last year, the Give Back Award. And I would love to meet that man that took me to that detox center and give him that award. I would love to see that man again.
Yes. And you know what, Jesse, that's a powerful statement. And then it reminds me of a statement of walk in my shoes. And I've seen a lot of clinicians that talk and they run programs, and they've got this book piece that they try to talk about addiction, and treatments and stuff like that. But you're talking from a firsthand history, and when you talk to your clients, And I think that goes over very well because you've walked in those shoes,
Mhm.
and that's something to be commemorated. And so keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing.
But I'm well received. And I
Yes.
don't have, people ask me, what's my lesson plan? I don't have one.
Mm-hmm.
God stopped me from doing that a while back, trying to write stuff out. He said, everything that I got for you to say, I've already written it in your heart.
Yeah.
You trying to rewrite it.
Mhm.
Right.
You just say what's on your heart. So when I go into the class, I don't bring no notebooks or nothing, wherever the spirit takes it, that's where the spirit takes it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm not a singer, but sometimes I go in class and the song will come to me and I sing it to the class.
Mm-hmm.
They put up with me. I'm not a singer, but certain songs just touches my heart, And sometimes I hit them with a riddle, wake them up, wake up, y'all, wake up.
Mm-hmm.
But the love that's being poured out on me in there is so overwhelming, and I love them. So I'm just getting back what I'm putting out. I'm concerned about them. I
Yes.
tell my smart, addicts are not stupid people, but nobody told them that they were smart. They think because they made a mistake, they dumb. And people tell them, you stupid, you dumb doing drugs. That ain't nothing, there's nothing stupid about an addict. In fact, addicts are some of the most intelligent people on God's earth.
Mm.
But we've been telling them how stupid they are. If
Mm-hmm.
an addict needs $100 a day to get high, that addict gets that 100. He can wake up broke, but before that day is out, he gets that $100, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Do the math. That's $36,500 just on his drug habit.
Mm.
Then he got to eat, sleep, clothe himself. So we easily talking $50,000 a year. An
Mm-hmm.
addict can think on his feet. Graduates from Harvard and Yale, they got to sit down and think.
Mm.
An addict can think moving 100 miles an hour. So there's nothing dumb about y'all. That's what I tell my class. Ain't nothing dumb about y'all. Y'all might be using it for the wrong reason. All you gotta do is flip it over.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you got to do. Got all that intelligence that you got, and you got it. Just flip it over.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The other thing too, you're talking about flip it over. For those folks that are that what I call the holier than thou, it will never happen to me. It will never happen to my family. You just don't know, because as we grow up and as we mature, coming up through the ages and stuff like that, we all could have made that one mistake that turns left or right that would have put us in, it could have started with the first beer or the first whatever marijuana, first joint or whatever.
Yeah.
So there is no holier than thou. There's, you just never know the point that turns you to flip you to the harder drugs, or they flip you from this side of the justice system to the other side of the justice system. And so but the story has to be told so that we will know that we won't repeat this history. Because
Excuse me, but there's not a family in the United States, not one, that drugs don't affect.
Yes.
If you got a son on drugs, you on drugs.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes.
If you got a daughter on drugs, you on drugs.
You on drugs, yes.
This book is not just for drug addicts.
No.
This is for if you got a friend on drugs. It's gonna give you some insight as to what they're going through. What you going through. Well,
Yeah.
it's by design. This thing is not a happenstance.
Mm-hmm.
It's by design.
Mm-hmm.
Drugs is a multi-billion-dollar industry. People are lining their pockets, getting their pocket fat off of drugs. So don't think for 1 minute that they're trying to eradicate drugs. They're not.
Right.
If you're gonna get clean, and I like to tell you there's another way, but I got to tell you what worked for me. If you're gonna get clean, you got to put God in the mix. Because there's some things that we get ourselves into, and our natural reasoning would tell us, well, I got myself in it, I can get myself out of it. That's our natural reason. I can remember going 7 days without getting high and celebrating by getting high.
Mm-hmm.
Patting myself on the back. I knew I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I could stop anytime I wanted to. But did I stop? No. But it never dawned on me. I stopped 7 days because I ain't had no money.
Hmm.
You can do anything when you run out of money.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't no problem. And I'm telling myself, yeah, I can stop. But I tell my class, it's like quicksand. When you're trying to get out on your own, the more you wiggle, the deeper you sink.
Mm-hmm.
God came into that room, and see, that's why I had to go. I had to go to that urine stained mattress to meet God. God met me in that place. And I tell people the place that you actually meet God is not going to be a very pretty place. But it's going to turn out to be pretty because you met God there. And see, now people are saying such nice things about me, and I receive it, you know, but I keep it in perspective. People are saying, you know, I'm all that, and you know, I know I got mirrors all through my house. I know exactly who I am. I know what I look like, all that, you know. But what I ask God, and it's my prayer each morning, or you know, I'm constantly asking God, Lord, I'm a human being. So if you see me getting the big head, or you see me swelling up with pride, and it's self-pride, bring that smell of urine fresh to my nostril. Let's all forget. I don't want to forget where I was at when you saved me. So bring it fresh to my nostril. Man will try to soup you up. I ain't buying it.
Pastor, before we
and God does it. To some people, urine. To some people, urine is a foul odor.
Yeah.
You may wholly know, but to me, it's a sweet perfume.
Mm-hmm.
Because it keeps me in remembrance of where I was.
Excuse me, Pastor, before we run out of time, I wanted to get this in, and you mentioned about lesson plan. There's no better lesson plan than life itself. But I wanted to mention that you talk about the heroin use, and like the Colonel had mentioned about people looking down on people that have been heroin addicts. And, you know, society is kind of funny in the way it reacts to certain drugs. You know, we all notice how cocaine is like the celebrated drug, but the same type of addiction, you know, that we get. And we talked earlier about, you know, because some people on cocaine consider themselves functioning addicts. And you had a take on what you felt about that term functioning addicts. Would you share that with us right now?
I said now, I say it again and again. There is no such animal as a functioning addict. And we'll use that term, and it keeps us in bondage longer. People will tell you, oh, I mean, my friends told me that. Ain't nothing wrong with you. You still married, you still, you know, working. But I was caught up in my addiction. But again, functioning addict doesn't even exist. It just keeps us in bondage. There's no such thing as a functioning addict. And I've had people to tell me, you know, hey, bro, I don't do heroin no more. And I slap five with them. All right, way to go. God, bless the Lord. You know, I just do crack now. So in their mind, the mind is a terrible thing to waste. In their mind, they actually think because I don't do heroin no more and just crack, I'm all right. I've been in that cycle. I've been there. So when I'm laughing at them, I'm not laughing at them, I'm laughing at me, because I said the same thing. So I had to say that up front. I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing at me, because I said the same thing you said. I remember doing cocaine, staying away from heroin, thinking I'm better. Smoking weed instead of cocaine, thinking I'm better. And the cycle continues, you know. But, you know, stopping is stopping. Ain't no getting, either you stop or you know. And I tell my class, once you make up your mind, and I want to say this, once you make up your mind that you don't want to use drugs no more, there ain't a power on earth that can make you use. All you have to do is make up your mind that you don't want to do it no more. And there's no power on earth that can make you use. But the flip side of that is, if you want to use, ain't no power on earth can stop you.
Mm-hmm.
That sword cut both ways. So all you gotta do is make up your mind. The moment you make up your mind, it's over. But life won't happen. I lost the love of my life with 20 years clean, and I'm tempted to get high. My fiance died in a horrific car accident, and the temptation to get high came to me strong. Get you something, get a little something to take the edge off. You're going through something now. Go get you something. You worry about what people think. People go understand. You just lost the love of your life. They gonna understand. But I came out of that room clean. I started quoting scripture. Jesus quoted scripture to the devil when the devil came to tempt him.
That's right. That's right.
He quoted scripture, for it's written.
Mm-hmm.
And when the devil came to tell me to get high that night, 1 o'clock in the morning, I quoted scripture. It's written, I will bless the Lord at all times. His praises shall continually be in my mouth. My soul will make a boast in the Lord. The humble will hear me and therein be glad. Oh, magnify the Lord with me. And let us exalt his name together. For I cried unto the Lord, and he heard me and delivered me from all my fears. And I said that over and over until I could feel righteous indignation rising up in me to do battle. I tell my class, you're in battle. I'm here to arm you. You're in a fight. I'm here to give you the weapons to fight with.
And just, and those students that you work with, who you're counseling, do you find that you're finding more individuals on the opioids, or are they still on the crack and the heroin?
See, you said it early on, addiction is an addiction, is an addiction, is an addiction.
Mm-hmm.
There's no separating it.
Mm-hmm.
Separate it, one better than the other, you know. If you're addicted, you're addicted. Whether, like you said, sex, gambling, the results are the same.
Mm-hmm.
The vehicle which takes you there may be different. You might get there in a Volkswagen, I might get there in a Porsche, but we all get there.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So I don't even get into the drug of choice.
The drug of choice, okay.
I don't even get into that. All I want to know is you're addicted.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't got to tell me what you're addicted to.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was addicted to anything that made me feel better.
Mm.
I was on heroin, but I can remember, you know, doing other drugs, you know. So I was addicted.
Mm-hmm.
Enough said. Let's deal with the addiction.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a great point, because the
I got
the
27
addiction,
years.
yeah, go ahead.
I got 27 years of using heroin. I'm coming up on 25 years of being clean. That's 52 years. That's over a half a century of experience.
Mm.
There's just got to be somebody out there that I can help.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be. If somebody called me from California and tell me they on heroin, they're trying to get off, I got to go to California. But I got things in place that'll get me to California, because I got to go. Because somebody came and got me one day. That man came into the Unstain mattress, that Unstain room, and got me. So if somebody called me in California, I got to go to California. Somebody called me in Chicago, I got to go to Chicago. But I got people in place. God has put people in place that will get me there and take care of me. That's why I tell them it's important to set up a support system. I got a support system. This book cost me $8,000 to get published. Not a dime came out of my pocket. Not one dime came out of my pocket. And I ain't did no collections. I ain't sold no donuts, no dinners. The publisher gave me 10 months to pay it off. God paid it off in 3 months.
Mm.
God paid for it. I told you, God been with me all along, and he's still with me.
Well, Reverend, as we come to a close of this program, we want to indeed thank you for coming on and sharing your story. And I'm confident that someone you helped this morning, just sharing your story here, and not only with addiction comes in all forms, not only in addiction to drugs, there's addiction to porn, there's addiction
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
cigarettes, there's addiction to sex, there's addiction to a multitude of things that people don't realize that it's the same type of issue or same type of problem as it could be as addicted to drugs. Anything that has you putting down one thing that might be important for the choice that you made to, to overtake what's really important. So hopefully, I mean, not hopefully, I know you helped someone by being on here and sharing your story this morning. And hopefully people will go out there and buy your book and be further educated with what you experienced that might help them. Maybe they're in the middle of addiction, or maybe they hadn't gotten there. Maybe it'll keep them from going to that point.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
whatever the case, and I'll say this one last thing for the other co-hosts, wrap it up. You mentioned about the guy that came to you. A lot of people, and this is in a lot of circumstances in life, people miss their blessing that
Mm-hmm.
God has sent them their way because they don't think that's the person, or they looking for a blessing one way, and they miss that guy that God actually sent there. You saw that when that guy came, and like you said, you never saw him again, because he wasn't there to be anything in your life but to save your life. And that's what he came there and he did that. And his mission was over and he left. And that was it.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't miss our blessings. We have to be aware what God can do for us and be aware of those blessings he sends us, and don't overlook that because you're looking for a blessing in another way and he sends it a different way.
Amen.
But we appreciate you coming on this morning, and that my other co-hosts summarize now.
For those who may have come on late, I want to share with you a copy of Jesse's book. It's called Coming Clean. It is a great read. It's a great read for children in the school system. It's a great read for those of us who may have young people, who may have people in our lives who are addicted to anything. It's a great read for those in the penal system. It's just a great read. And it's an easy read. The words, they just flow so well. And it really makes you sit back and analyze some of the things that you may have been involved in your life. So I encourage each of you to get a copy of Jesse's book. It is still on Amazon. I looked last night. Amazon only had 5 copies left. However, Reverend Warren does have copies. And so you can contact one of us and we can get in touch with Reverend Warren and let him know that you want the book. But it's a great read. And I encourage you to get the book and learn how he was able to overcome all of the obstacles, not only with the addiction, but all of the other obstacles that he faced from his childhood on until today. So Reverend Warren, once again, I want to thank you for agreeing to come on Portsmouth Coffee Talk. I want to thank you for sharing your story. I want to thank you for the lives that you have touched and those that you will touch as a result of the journey that God placed you on to help other individuals. So I just want to say thank you so very much for agreeing to be on Portsmouth Coffee Talk. You are my friend. And one thing I must say, everybody, at work, when Jesse worked in the same building I worked in, he would come every morning and sing a song to me. I miss my songs, Jesse, okay? I miss my songs. So, but I want to say thank you. And I'm just thankful that you have been a part of my life and that you are a part of my life. And I feel honored and blessed to be in your presence, really.
It is truly I who thank y'all for this opportunity. We joining hand in hand in getting this message out. I'm not doing this by myself. Y'all see my name on the cover, but if you can only see the many people behind that book, without those people, it would be no book. So I had to pay homage to the people that supported me. Time when I wanted to put that pen down, people encouraged me to pick it back up. And I thank God for those people. So I thank God for y'all in this opportunity. But I need to say at that book signing, it was a kid. I want to give a shout out to this kid that came to the table, 14 years old. And he said to me, Mr. Jesse, I don't have $15 to buy your book. He said, but I want to make a contribution to the work that you're doing in the community. 14 years old.
Mm.
And he gave me his last $2.
Mm.
I gave him a book.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, son, you bless my heart. He said, Mr. Jesse, you bless my heart.
Mm.
And I've been in touch with that kid since then. And I want to bring him to my church because we want to bless him at our church.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what it's all about for me. You know, that's my payment. See, I got a heavenly bank account.
Mm-hmm.
And faith is my password.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I activate my ATM in heaven. So when I need money or anything that I need, I go to that ATM in heaven and push in faith, and it shows up.
Mm.
And I want to thank y'all for this opportunity because I ain't doing it by myself. I thank y'all for joining in with me to get this message out. God bless each and every one of you, and may heaven smile on you.
And one thing we need to mention as well, if you missed any parts of this show, you can go on my Facebook page or Coffee Talk Facebook page, and you can revisit the beginning to the end. And later on today, James will have this on YouTube. So we're asking you to subscribe, go to our YouTube page, subscribe, and look at all of the videos from the past shows. But you definitely can see this evening the video from this show on YouTube. Colonel?
Yeah, not much I can say because Leah just put out a long rendition of thank yous and all the accolades that you've done. But I'll got 2 points: is that one, you kept it real, and the other point I'll say is we don't walk alone.
Right.
And you've said that before. Your journey, you have not walked alone, and it's a lesson to everybody who is out there listening or watching us, is to reach out and touch somebody, because you just never know. You might be the one guy that took you from picked you up and got you off that urine stained bed. Small acts of kindness and just know how that can change somebody's life.
Mm.
And so I'll end it with that.
Thank you.
Again, thanks everybody for watching, and continue to watch us later on this week on our Portsmouth Coffee Talk Evening Edition as we continue our shows with
HBCU.
HBCUs. And this week we will feature Hampton University. There are other HBCUs other than Virginia Union out there. So
And we must say that we have had Virginia Union on, and we also have had Norfolk State on Behold the
Norfolk
Green and
State.
Gold. So
and going forward.
this
But
week will be Hampton's week.
Yeah, I always have to joke about that, but that's the way we are competitive in the
Yes.
CIW, in the HBCUs. But we love all our HBCUs, and we will feature Hampton this Thursday night at 7 p.m. So tune in to that show, and as we continue to feature our HBCUs. And again, thank you. And Portsmouth Coffee Talk is here for our voice,
our community,
in our future.
And I thank you very much, and God bless you, and we'll see you
God
next
bless you.
week.
God bless you.
Oh, and we'll see you Thursday in next week at 6:30.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Reverend Warren. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
God bless.
God bless.